have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
Illuminati News.
Here's a currently popular favorite for both American or South American popular dance lovers. Deep in a Dream, and Helen Forrest is the singer.
Welcome, everybody, to the Leo Zayami Show with Leo and Christy. Hello, hello, and thank you for making this book briefly #1 in the UFO category in Amazon, and is still peaking. This new book, The Vatican Top Secret Alien Agenda. It's a book, guys, that seems to be going really good. You want to go and check the charts this week? I mean, it was a good thing to finally see some response, after so much work. It's always a lot of hard work, guys, to actually do a book. That's for sure, no, Christy?
Yeah.
And you know something about it. So here we are. And today we are here also, especially thanks to the sponsors, aside from those who, of course, have purchased the book. Who are the sponsors, Christy?
Cable Land and Daniel Estes. Thank you very much.
Okay, so let's go and check this glory moment. First of all, we were #1 Amazon Hot New Releases. Yes. Are the puppets saying something about it?
We are very happy.
They're very happy.
I'm so... Oh, wait, wrong voice. Oh, God. I'm so happy with the progress of your book. You're such a successful man.
Okay. That sounds good.
And what about me?
And
what am I, chopped liver?
Huh?
You are so jealous.
Guys,
I won't do puppet hands the whole time. Look,
here, then we have it peaking bestsellers in UFOs, see, surrounded by all these very famous people that we regularly see on TV. Well, there was your Leo Zagami. So get your copy now. You can get it, you can find, of course, the link together with the description at leozagami.com. And you can also get both the paperback as well as the hardcover. You can get them, where can you get them, Christy? At
Amazon.
Amazon, yes, at Amazon. Of course, depending on where you order, then you're gonna have the price, which is for the paperback approximately $20 here in the United States, and I think around $28 for the hardcover. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, at this point, guys, let's start with a topic which is, of course, picked up from my latest book. This is an important topic because it relates to a subject very dear to me. I'm talking about remote viewing. Behind the reverse engineering of the legacy program, there is also the remote viewing aspect. And this remote viewing aspect brings together even the Vatican. Yes, we even have a Vatican representative who died earlier this year, who was actually involved with it, as well as Dr. Alputov. Well, Dr. Alputov seems to be somebody who wants to classify our reality, but we were not going to get him to classify our reality. But first of all, I want to open today's show by commenting on something specific regarding the nominee for the New Science Advisory Council here in the United States, because, guys, it's not really good news. People say, oh, well, he's such a good guy. I'm talking about Avi Loeb, who has been nominated to head this new UAP Science Advisory Council. I want to make it very clear. This guy is a shill of the system and, of course, of the legacy program. He has faked for a long time his position, and I'm going to, of course, at this point, as an alternative to the system, but in reality, who is this gentleman? This gentleman who has been introduced immediately by the various media as the best option for somebody who can drive this new UAP task force at a scientific level. Well, let me show you who this guy really is then, because of course he is not only American, he is Israeli American. And as an 18-year-old, he was accepted into the Israel Defense Forces elite Talpiot program, which then recruits people for the intelligence. No, I'm not making this up, guys. He is a Sabbatian Frankist #1, and for that reason, I need to expose him immediately. I feel the urge. Okay, so this is the Talpiot program. It's an elite Israel Defense Forces training program for people who are particularly gifted. Once they get in there, they almost 100% get recruited by Shin Bet or Mossad. Shin Bet, which is the military intelligence or the civil intelligence. There is here a number of notable alumni, and of course you can find Avi Loeb, Israel-American theoretical physicist at Harvard University. So, this is what are you offering us? Why such a delicate position is given not to an American, but to an American Israeli? There is so much controversy surrounding Israel at the moment. It seems the worst choice they could make. But the reason is, of course, that these are people who are connected also to the military industrial complex also in Israel. I'm not joking. I'm not making things up, guys. This is very clear. Watch here. Development in the EDF and Israel military industries. So, Anything else to add? Well, let's check News Nation, which is the official outlet for all the gatekeepers, and see how they presented the nomination of this gentleman, which I have already exposed in this book.
What's his job? What's he going to do?
He's going to head the scientific committee. So let's see. Actually, you did the right thing by asking me that. Here is the answer.
Newly appointed UAP Advisory Council has been put together by the White House in hopes of answering exactly those questions. Our next guest is the head of that advisory council, Avi Loeb, joins me now. He's also the director of Harvard's Institute for Theory and Computation and wrote the book Extraterrestrial. Avi, welcome back. Okay, is it your job as the person in charge of this council? Are you guys going to finally explain?
We are not surprised that the White House, that is in the hands of the Sabbatian Frankist, with Jared Kushner heading everything behind the scenes, and the secret society connected, of course, to Peter Thiel, to have this choice as a nominee. Huh? Wow.
Objects are in these videos, or what? Are you going to get to the bottom of it all?
Well, thanks for having me. That's exactly the intention. You know, on the same day that the third batch was released, Steven Spielberg put out his film, Disclosure Day. But I think it's much more interesting to live through the reality rather than the artistic freedom displayed in the script of Spielberg. And frankly, my car is not being crashed against the moving train, as you find in the film. The government is actually cooperating with me, with scientists.
Yeah, sure, guys, whatever. Get your antidote to the Steven Spielberg movie, as well as all this government disclosure BS, because it's about time to expose them all. And of course, if you want to know more about the Sabbatian Frankist, also behind Steven Spielberg, The Rise and Fall of a Frankist Monster, which also exposes Peter Thiel. And of course, if you want to know more about the order on top of the pyramid, the Jesuit order, volume 12, the Jesuits are the ones who, of course, want to baptize an extraterrestrial. So it's all ready. But here we are ready also to explain you how things work, because we want to do something really special today in regards to remote viewing. Of course, the Israeli had Yuri Geller working with Dr. Hal Puthoff, which image you saw at the beginning with the music, and now that we have chosen to open our show. Now, let's go and explain really the situation in regards to remote viewing. We will have Christy, which has a beautiful voice. That she will be reading soon something.
Red light on my face.
Okay. Are you ready? Are you ready to go into the previously classified, now unclassified work, so that the people can understand what we are talking about? Because remote viewing is a very specific discipline, which was built in the early 70s, and eventually they will call it the Stargate Project, but it wasn't really called the Stargate Project at the beginning, because what happened was that, first of all, the remote viewing programs, the precursors to and including after the Stargate Project, began in 1972 with claims of perceiving or interacting with non-human intelligence soon after. And that was something that emerged when they were actually intending to do a purely military use. You know, they wanted to see the bases of the enemy, and they wanted to get into the minds of the politicians of enemy countries or other things. There is various things that you can do with the remote viewing. Of course, you have remote viewers who operate in control environments, often with minimal guidance from a monitor to prevent bias. You have a target. You have the coordinates for this target, can be in the past, present, or future. Viewers are given these coordinates, photos or descriptions of the target and asked to describe the perceptions and impressions. To maintain the data integrity of these experiments, neither the viewer nor the monitor knew the target details, minimizing this way the risk of suggestion and manipulation. But let's read with Christie the actual various points which define remote viewing. I'm sure that it's going to be enjoyable, because these are things that, you know, not everybody knows, and they need to be known because they are part of this whole secret agenda. Here we are.
Okay. Number 1, write down anything that you are thinking or about which you are concerned. Objectify your emotional and physical state. Throw this paper away. Number 2, on an unmarked piece of paper, indicate your name and the current date and time. Number 3, relax your physical and mental being. Clear our mind of any thoughts that remain after completing step 1. Time spent on step 1, 2, and 3 are preparatory to good performance. Take your time. Number 4, write down the task, e.g., an example as described by a monitor. Number 5, relax again, making sure that you are not thinking consciously about anything.
This is point 5, yes. And then you have point 6.
When you are satisfied that you have completed step 5, put your writing instrument to the now labeled paper, thereby indicating your readiness to the monitor. Number 7, at the moment you touch your writing instrument to your paper, the target access word should be spoken to the monitor or the viewer if the session is to be self-monitored. Freeze your first impression immediately.
This is point 8, the last point of the access to remote viewing.
It's so small.
Okay,
bigger.
no worries. I'm going to make it bigger for you.
Okay, thanks. Freeze your first impression immediately following the target access work in your memory. If you are not immediately struck with a feeling, then either lay down your writing instrument or indicate your readiness to respond again by repeating step 7. If you get a bit and a reasonably descriptive aspect about it from the feeling, you should consider this information as correct. If you then get another different bit after the first, it is likely that the description of the previous bit is correct. It is only when the same bit repeats that you have to be more careful.
Okay, perfect. So this was a brief description of what remote viewing is from the actual official documents. So it's not something we made up, but it's actually the way the CIA prepared for remote viewing training. There are several, of course, effective methods of demonstrating how this information is perceived, time spans of less than 1 second at times. One simple demonstration of this can be made by simply closing the eyes, then blink them open, allowing only a fraction of a second for a second view of the target. So this is the procedure is about extreme concentration. You have to bring out phones from the room. Actually, there is special rooms that were built so they could avoid any electromagnetic pollution. So extreme concentration. But like I said, this whole thing, the Stargate project, which was also done in a similar way by Lieutenant Colonel Savin, as I explain in my new book, who wanted to actually recruit the guy who collaborated with me for this book, Roberto Pinotti, in the remote viewing program. This guy, which I'm showing you now on the screen, is Lieutenant Colonel Savin. He's the Soviet-Russian version, still currently operating what used to be Unit 10,003, is the Russian version of Dr. Al Putov. Dr. Al Putov is the one that kick-started here in the United States, this whole thing in the early 70s. But then something happened. Like I said, the UFO, the alien element came into the equation, and that is really something that then was used. And not only the Russians and the Americans, but even the Chinese have their own Al Puthoff. And the Vatican also. It used to be called Father Resch. The Chinese, you guys, I know, it sounds pretty weird. The Chinese also had a program like this, but the Chinese actually had a very important program for a period of time focusing on these things. So let me find it for you, and so you can have a look at it. The paranormal research in China peaked between 1979 and 1999, and the guy responsible for it is called Dr. Qian Uxin, the father of the Chinese space program. So what is the coincidences here that the father of the Chinese space program, a renewed aerodynamicist, strong champion the research into paranormal stuff? It's like the head of NASA doing that. If you don't believe in what I'm saying, well, here we have the Chinese version of the remote viewing for those who are interested. I talked about China and also their UAP reverse engineering and recovering program in my book. But here we are with the Chinese. This is Professor Qian Xuesen here. And this is Chinese government encounters with paranormal activities. These are actually Qian Xuesen, the Chinese American scientist, because before going back to China, he was actually working here in America. And guess who he was working with?
I don't know.
Jack Parsons, a dear friend, Aleister Crowley.
I would have never guessed.
Caltech. So, I mean, they're all connected, guys. They're all connected. But regarding the remote viewing, well, it's very interesting what one of the main protagonists of the remote viewing programs that eventually became the Stargate project, I'm talking about Lynn Buchanan, is now very old, but he still gives occasionally some very interesting interviews. And in this specific, I mean, he's one of the protagonists also of the book that then became the film, The Man Who Stared at Goats. But here we have Lynn Buchanan admitting how they came into contact with non-human intelligence during the remote viewing program. Here,
ever officially tasked with any ET or UFO targets. Did we do them? Well, yeah. It became immediately apparent that there's not us and them. There's us and them and them and them and them and them, each with their own agenda. The ones that have bases here seem to be friendly.
So here it gives you already a nice idea of what we're going to be discussing. Huh?
Also come to the conclusion that the ET bases, they're more like reservations where our governments have said, you don't bother us, we won't bother you.
Okay, so let's go to the moment in which he discusses specifically when the ETs came into the remote viewing process and why they officially didn't really connect with them, but they did, and he admits it, and he's very open about it. I mean, the guy is obviously very old, so he is trying to give us, I guess, at the end of his life, a testimony, which I think is a very important testimony. So here there is, let me find it and let me, here we are with what is a very important testimony.
Officially tasked with any ET or UFO targets, okay? Did we do them? Well, yeah. Practice sessions, and, you know, if a 2, 3, 4-star general came in and said, "Would you do me a favor?" What's the sergeant going to say? No, sir. You know, and so, but we were never officially tasked to do ET targets. Did we do them? Well, sure. Yeah, we did them. As practice or as favors.
All right. ET targets. I mean, what were you discovering? What did you see?
Okay, we're gonna go there soon, but let me explain you a little bit more, because there is people here that obviously haven't read this book. In this book, there's important testimonies that link the Vatican, the Stargate project, all the way to what the Stargate is today, the Stargate data center expansion. So if you think you're clever because you say, oh, the Stargate now is the data center expansion, well, maybe you should read this book to know the full truth. You see, the problem with people today, I know this, Christy, is that they want it easy. And AI is making them more and more idiotic. I receive mails of people who is like, why is your book not an audiobook? Listen, guys, get a grip. Get a book, study it, open it, put your mind in it. To actually use an audiobook is something lazy that really is an insult to a writer, because a writer is a writer. An audiobook is an audiobook. Now, if I had, of course,
What if somebody's blind?
Let me complete what I was saying, because it's very important. See, why I don't agree with an audiobook? Because for me, the audiobook should be read by people like, I don't know, Anthony Hopkins, or if Sean Connery was still alive, a top-notch actor could read my book. But why should I let the AI read my book? It doesn't work for me. So you see,
No,
what are the puppets saying about it?
nothing really.
Okay.
It made my hands sweat, so I had to take it out.
Okay. So, in this book, I open talking about the involvement of Dr. Hal Puthoff. Hal Puthoff was the guy that, together with the Vatican, has devised the contact protocol with these alien beings, just like Dr. Hyun Hussein, the father of the Chinese space program, did in China with what was known as the extraordinary human body function, which was based, of course, on something extraordinary. Now, in regards to what Buchanan is saying, Buchanan in this interview, he went very deep when discussing the different extraterrestrial groups, because Buchanan explains that human records keep, they divide these aliens into friends and enemies, just like we divide demons and angels. Now, he states at one point that there are enemy alien groups who possess far more psychic power than humans. Then there is specific enemy groups that will be very happy to see us all dead, because the moment in which the humans finally use their brain instead than getting the AI to steal the brain, and that is a big point here of my criticism also with Avi Loeb, the guy who is now in charge of the UAP task force, because he has stated that if an advanced race comes from another part of the universe, they will connect with the AI. Well, dear Sabati and FRANKIST Avi Loeb, go back to Israel, please, because we don't need somebody who is going to lie to the American public, just like the present president of the United States of America is doing every day. Avi Loeb knows very well, and the people behind the scenes know very well, that the AI is the product of reverse engineering from these UFOs that have been reverse engineered. So then at that point, those UFOs are the Trojan horses. There is no contact that will be made by the aliens. They're already in charge of us the moment in which we deliver all our knowledge to the AI, and we deliver every single section of our life to the AI. We are basically falling into a massive trap. and the data centers are basically part of a current alien invasion. That's the real truth.
It seems so weird.
I know, but that's the truth.
There were already 4 ET bases discovered before I got there, and that was sort of a standard thing to see if we could do those. I did 3 of them. I never did the 4th one up in the Pyrenees Mountains in Spain. But there's one in Mount Hayes, Alaska, one in Zimbabwe, and one in Mount Zeal in Queensland, Australia. And so I did those, and come to find out, my sketches, my findings, everything else were exactly, I mean, measurably the same as had been found almost 15 years before that by one of the best remote viewers ever, in Pat Price. Yeah.
All right. So these are bases that are built by ETs or built by humans to research and, reverse engineer technologies, etc.
There were humans working there, but I don't think those humans were from the Earth. I think, well, originally, as if my viewing is correct.
It gets pretty far out, guys. But let's go back to the CIA and the Vatican involvement with all this. Because, like I said, this is a program that was started by somebody who then, of course, managed to find the financing from the CIA and then give birth to this whole remote viewing thing that developed in a series of programs. Because, like I said, there wasn't only one program, but a series of programs that eventually would be called Stargate, because that was what happened. They actually opened a Stargate, and the Stargate with entities not from this world. So the project Stargate eventually will be named this way in 1991. But before that, Dr. Alputov was the principal instigator of the whole thing, from the Stanford Research Institute, which, like I explained in Volume 11 of my Confessions, was very close to the MK Ultra program, founded by the Stanford University. He secured the CIA funding, led the first systematic remote viewing experiments, especially with people like Pat Price, which we just saw, and also the very famous Ingo Swann. The point of contact between the Vatican and the work of the Stargate project and Alputov is Father Andreas Resch. I dedicated a whole chapter in my latest book to the father of paranormology. This is what he was teaching in the universities Lateranense, the one there in San Giovanni, and also La Gregoriana. Both Alputov and Father Andreas Resch were part of the Society for Scientific Exploration, which is another, let's say, another group very close to the CIA, like also the Sol Foundation, which we will be discussing soon. Now, the programs of remote viewing, the first one was called Scan8. Now, Scan8, because it's like scanning, your brain, Scan8. Huh? The second was called Gondola Wish. This was an early operational project name. Then there was Grill Flame. This was a long-running program used primarily by the US Army Intelligence and Security Command. Then we had Center Lane. This was the official project designation following Grill Flame. Then you had Sunstreak, which was utilized by the Defense Intelligence Agency. Remember that the CIA couldn't really operate here in the United States, and then, of course, you have the Defense Intelligence Agency instead. The CIA operates only outside of the United States. There was Project CF, which was also an early code name linked to the Army unit's precursor operations. Now, Dr. Al Puthoff, together with Russell Targ, managed to secure the funding and managed to give birth to this whole thing. We said that, there were similar programs in Russia and then also in China. It seems like Al Puthoff managed to get the funding once he showed that Sabin was doing the same thing in Russia. Immediately here in America, they said, oh, we have to do the same. So that is when Al Puthoff, who is still alive, Al Puthoff, guys, is the guy you find in the Age of Disclosure. The Age of Disclosure, that brainwashing propaganda documentary fueled by so-called experts and people like Marco Rubio, little Marco. Now, the whole thing is that in my book, of course, I show the involvement of the Vatican. It's linked to all these people like David Grush, who you see every 2 minutes on TV, or people like Jeremy Corbett, people like Avi Loeb that we have just seen. It's always the same people you see that we spot on TV talking about imminent disclosure. Well, let's go to something particular that has to do with this whole disclosure, and that, of course, is the classification of a reality. A reality shouldn't be classified or limited, because who is limiting a reality is working for those demonic aliens who want to limit the capacity of the human brain. The human brain, once it works 100%, is capable of doing things that other alien races cannot do. They fear us arriving into the space race and being presenting to the whole cosmic community and have this power. So they want to dumb us down. They want to make us the idiocracy kind of sin, they want to dumb us to the level of idiocracy. But there was a confrontation that I deemed rather interesting at one point between Dr. Harry Weinstein, that, by the way, then was picked up by the CIA, and also he was made privy to classified material. So now he is also a gatekeeper and impossibilitated to tell everything because, of course, once you are in the hands of the national security, you can't open your mouth anymore. We can open our mouth. So let me show you the moment in which Weinstein challenges Al Puthoff about classificating reality.
Were there actually updates in physics, maybe mid-century, that were not disclosed to the public?
Well, I mean, it quieted down because nobody ever got anywhere, or it quieted down because they did get somewhere and it went black.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's finally here, the much-anticipated conversation with Eric Weinstein and Hal Puthoff.
The world's most brilliant physics mind of our time is the son of the country's most prominent and important anti-gravity researcher of the 1950s. I don't know what any of this is.
Hal is an electrical engineer and laser physicist.
This is the guy who has a security clearance which is 23 levels on top of the president. The president knows absolutely nothing. He knows on a need-to-know basis. Remember this, guys. The president, every president, aside from those who had an encounter of the third kind, very rare. It happened in 1973 with Nixon. It happened in the early 50s with Eisenhower. But all the other presidents are simply informed on a need-to-know basis. That's how it works. So they can't really tell you much because they don't really know much. There is people behind the scene that instead have the whole truth. I mean, it's not me saying it. Check out what this congressman is saying.
First off, what is it about the federal government that they are so afraid of transparency when it comes to this issue?
It could be a lot of reasons. I think one of them is just arrogance. The Bible says, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. and every one of them thinks they're the greatest thing in the world. I sit in a secure briefing with some little punk with a man bun telling me that the president's on a need-to-know basis. Imagine that. An unelected bureaucrat is sitting there telling military officials, these guys were high-ranking people that were beside him, and members of Congress, that the president is on a need-to-know basis, and he was the gatekeeper. And another, just imagine if you had this energy source that these things are possibly capable of. These things are hovering for hours on end. They shoot up straight up at speeds that we can't even fathom. Just imagine if we could heat our homes in the winter and cool them in the summer. We'd put the war pimps at the Pentagon out of business. We wouldn't be fighting all these wars over oil. And thank goodness we have President Trump in the White House, who kept his word to me and kept his word on this issue and said, you know, he told me, he said, Tim, I'm going to release him for whatever, good or bad. And he did it. He kept his word. And
what did he release, really, Trump? He released nothing, just a few lights here and there, orbs, things. I mean, they, of course, finally showed a lot of previously classified material that most people didn't know, but most ufologists knew about the reality of the UFO subject, about the reality of what they now call the UAP. But Trump hasn't shown us any alien bodies. Trump has not really admitted that we have done reverse engineering since 1933, because this book comes with evidence, with the receipts like this one. And I tell you guys, this is a document from Benito Mussolini's secret police, and there is many other documents like this in this book regarding the birth of the reverse engineering, which of course then continues here in the United States in the second half of the 1940s, when, because of the Manhattan Project, the UFOs gave us all these crafts. Now, we call it UFO crash. But in my book, I explain that the scientists call them UFO gifts. And we, a little primitive race of primitive people who are behind millions of years in front of this, we really think that they came from the other side of the universe to crash on this idiotic planet and do it more than once in New Mexico. No, but imagine this. They started to crash in New Mexico, and we thought that they were crashing in New Mexico. Do you think that's believable that they were crashing? Of course, they were giving us gifts. Gifts that I will translate in Trojan horses. Trojan horses. Because then, once we retrieve that technology, and we are now using it for everything, and everybody's in their pocket has a mobile phone, which is an AI alien object, you are carrying an alien in your pocket, my friends. There is no need for Independence Day arriving on top or landing on the White House lawn. Because in 2030, most governments will be led by the AI. The AI will decide for the humans, bypass the humans, and go directly to their creators. The alignment happens in the next 8 years. Starting from next year, we are aligned with Sirius. From that moment onwards, this planet is going to be closed in, and at that point, you will be revealed who are the real princes.
Screw that. I'm not going along with this program.
No, I know, but
I'm not doing it.
But
So screw that.
this is what is
No,
happening.
I mean, we need something good here. I mean,
know.
you can't just say that and then leave us like, oh.
Yeah, but I'm just this is what
We're gonna fight, all of us. We're gonna fight,
Oh,
and
but,
I don't have my phone anymore.
Okay. Look, for example, at what Timothy Alberino is stating. We are heading for a Genesis 6,
Screw that.
Genesis 6 2.0 scenario.
This was one of the most important things that had ever happened. The Watchers rebelled against the kingdom of heaven. They defected from the kingdom of heaven. They bound themselves by oath of mutual imprecations. They did it. They did this thing which they knew was going to be a great transgression because they were lusting after the daughters of men. They desired to take them as wives, to copulate with them, and to progenerate families. That's what they wanted. and then through their offspring to dominate the earth, to take dominion of the earth. That's what they wanted. That's what they did. And everybody knew it. And yet here we are today, still bickering about whether or not the Jews believed that that was history or whether or not that's what Genesis 6 is talking about. I mean, it's crazy. All you have to do is read the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it becomes abundantly clear that everybody believed that this was true during the time of Christ.
I look for patterns, and the pattern I see in the story of the Watchers, subjugating humanity, lusting after humanity, interbreeding to corrupt God's intended order of creation and the human beings that God made in his image. All of that sounds eerily familiar to some of what we're hearing with UFO and alien phenomena today.
Yeah, I think we're headed for a Genesis 6 2.0.
Do you?
Scenario.
Yeah. And that's what I assume makes you so passionate about this topic. And it's not because, you know, you want to be right or whatever. You just, I guess, feel like Christians especially are missing the boat on something that's so important for people to know.
I am interested in the truth. I am interested in having an accurate theological framework. I don't care about tradition. I don't care about people's opinions. I just want to know what's real. And I allow for the UFO phenomenon, I allow the phenomenon to be what it is. Whatever. What are the facts? What do we know? Fine. It does no violence to my faith in Christ. It doesn't matter what it turns out to be. It makes no difference to me. If these are fallen creatures that were manufactured by fallen angels or meat suits for demons, or if they're just sentient beings that were created elsewhere and now they're here doing something nefarious, whatever.
I totally agree with Timothy though on this one, because it should never touch our faith in a relationship with God. I think that all this panic that we have seen with all these pastors going online, oh, the movie of Spielberg is challenging our faith. The movie of Spielberg is not challenging anything aside from my popcorn. And no, I mean, it was a pleasant thing, but I mean, to call it a moment of challenge
for putting words in our mouth. I mean, because we don't feel like that. So they're trying to make us think that we feel like that.
I mean,
they try to tell us what we think all the time.
We, you know, also, I don't agree with those people who say, oh, this movie was so bad, I couldn't see it. No, the movie is a movie. It's actually a good movie in the sense of entertainment.
You know, some people like movies, some people don't.
It's a kind of,
it's
of
just,
course,
it's
of
a
course.
good movie. It was entertaining.
But it is a psyop, so it's all
Emily
hype.
Blunt. I thought she was very good.
It's all hype. Emily Blunt, of course, gave her last epic performance for an actress who probably is now, you know, gonna reach with this film the Oscars and the apex of her career. No, because that's
what she did.
I mean, she did a great job. But having said that, there is some hints that Spielberg gives, like, for example, the firm belief in remote viewing, even if I dislike the fact that this remote viewing was shown always with this object in the hand, this alien object. They have to have, yes, come on. And then another thing which I agree, which I find interesting, is the fact that he shows that alien can be perceived as animals. But let's not forget, even genies, which are at times demons, can be perceived as animals. So even demons, even in the Christian legends, can be perceived as animals at times. So, I mean, that is a little bit. Then we have another admission. The reverse engineering, though, I think is the most important admission in the movie. There is, of course, a hint about the Nixon 1973 thing and all the rest. But Spielberg is working for the system. He's, you know, when he goes and says, I have nothing to do with this kind of people, him, the guy who was part of Les Wexner's exclusive mega group surrounded by military industrial complex elite members, and I mean, he's completely lying. That is what I dislike of Spielberg. He's not honest about the fact that he was in the White House for E.T. and that Ronald Reagan told everybody there, this film is real. There is people in this room who know that this film is real.
E.T. was real?
Yeah, that there is they had recovered non-human bodies. This reality was recently confirmed also by the gatekeeper of David Grush, by the way. David Grush, guys, is somebody who has said something that has confirmed to me he is the ultimate gatekeeper, and that's why I exposed him in this book of mine. I mean, when he goes there and says, you have to follow Professor Pasulka, which is basically like following Jacques Vallée, he is admitting in a way that he has a classic Jesuit imprint when he say, no, don't call them demons. We are not sure of that. We need to wait. I have actually here a clip that I'm going to show you. David Grush, listen very carefully to what he says here, because then you can find the answer for these questions. I mean, if you don't want to be passive observers to the disclosure, you have to get the Vatican's top secret alien agenda now.
News, you're seeing a lot of talk about demons and other things like that. The Vice President Vance has mentioned that. My friend Tucker Carlson has also said that too. And I've had private conversations with him about that. And I do want to address that really quickly, both as an intel officer, a guy who studied physics, a practicing Roman Catholic like Secretary Rubio and Vice President.
Practicing Roman Catholic, I would say a practicing Jesuit Roman Catholic, which is a little bit different.
My friend Tucker Carlson has also said that too. And I've had private conversations with him about that. And I do want to address that really quickly, both as an intel officer, a guy who studied physics.
So remember to hear how he presents himself. He is not only a inter officer, he is also a Roman Catholic, and then he gives out the specific names of the people that address his theological perspective of the extraterrestrial phenomenon. Please listen.
A practicing Roman Catholic like Secretary Rubio and Vice President Vance. I respect those views of spirituality and demonic deception, and I think we should be concerned about that. But I think it's theologically premature without knowing everything, equating everything to demons, because God has created this wonderful, visible and invisible order. He's created humans, animals, angels, and other types of non-human intelligence. And I don't think us as humans, we understand all of God's creation to kind of use a theological kind of framework on that. And I think that everybody needs to keep that in mind, to be respectful of that. And the Catholic Church certainly has a long history in this. And there are Catholic theologians like the late Dr. Paul Thigpen.
So the Catholic Church knows very well, has been preparing for a long time, is confirming basically the premise of this book. And he just mentioned the late Paul Thigpen, extraterrestrial intelligence and the Catholic faith. But listen to the others he's suggesting you should listen.
Diana Pasulka at University of North Carolina.
Diana Pasulka, yes, the one that was brought by these military industrial complex individuals, intelligent operatives, once she was blindfolded to a secret UFO crash site in New Mexico. And later on, she was brought deep in the vaults of the Vatican archives. And then she was brought to Castel Gandolfo to meet with Guy Consomagno, the guy who would baptize an extraterrestrial. Guys, this is a scam that they are orchestrating every day against us. David Grush is on Fox. David Grush is on News Nation. David Grush is the guy who was stalking on the stairs of the Capitol Hill the other day and, taking over the... Sure.
Dr. Brett Robinson at Notre Dame. They've provided a lot of that analysis and theological interpretation on how people can view this. So I see that as a big impasse, certainly because of the commentary that I'm hearing about that kind of thing. It's very dangerous language, and I think we need to be more thoughtful.
Dangerous language. Why? So if I say that an alien is a demon, that's dangerous. That's why Monsignor Rossetti, who was, by the way, used to be an intelligence officer before becoming an exorcist, he said they were demons, and he got immediately kicked out. After 19 years of practicing exorcism in the Diocese of Washington, D.C., he got kicked out. And there is no official dogma by the Catholic Church, but he got kicked out.
And I'm just happy I'm able to plug that for a little bit, because I don't hear many advocates on the disclosure movement side really addressing that. I think it's a very dangerous mindset to be in. If you
Listen, if I say that you are a demon, is that dangerous? Why is it dangerous to say that the aliens are demons? This guy is the typical Jesuit shield. This is the situation, guys, that we are facing. Huh? They must, no, I mean, I saw the other time, when he went in front of, there on the stairs of Capitol Hill, and he was in front, of everybody. He took the lead,
Documentaries on the subject.
Here he was, check it out.
Prioritize.
This is the guy, this is the woman, another gatekeeper, who published in 2017 the first article on the New York Times about TikTok, which led also to the immediate, rising of a new star, Luis Elizondo, another guy you can find also on the Disinfo channel, History Channel, because anything you find on the History Channel is Disinfo.
An investigation.
Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. And then here we have this Sabbatean Frankist who claims to be a Christian. In reality, she is born from a Sabbatean Frankist Orthodox Jewish family. Ladies and gentlemen, this is another gatekeeper. They are all gatekeepers. Look at them. Now, behind Luna, we have somebody who doesn't want to really be seen too much, but maybe we should address him. Let's talk about the Soul Foundation. Let's talk about Gary Nolan, because when Professor Pasulka was put blindfolded and brought into the desert. Who brought her into the desert? There were two people. One of these two people was Gary Nolan, worked for the CIA, another professor, big shot in the academic world, co-founder of the Soul Foundation, which is a cover-up organization created by the CIA. Let's go and check what Gary Nolan says and knows, just because it seems very interesting. These people are all part of the same club, and they are the ones who are giving us the so-called disclosure. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Gary Nolan.
I do not believe that aliens have visited the planet. What?
This is Gary Nolan, the guy with the glasses. He's British American.
Do you tell somebody who says this to you?
To me, and this is my bias, the evidence is overwhelming. And I noticed my shadow in front of me, and then the shadows were moving like that. Suddenly they're coming close, and I realized there's what? And I looked up, and this object went right over the top of the trees.
Can you give a sort of generic account?
No. That's why it's called TS.
Top secret. So other
TS, top secret. No, he can't tell us anything. Oh, sorry, he can't tell us anything. Gary Nolan is an outspoken British American immunologist, prolific biotech entrepreneur, professor in the Department of Pathology at Stanford. It's always Stanford, it's the home of all evil. Stanford University, Stanford Institute. He is in the Department of Pathology at Stanford University School of Medicine. And he is very much known in the scientific community for his own work, which is rather good into cancer, the cancer research. But he has also gained significant prominence as a leading researcher on the UAP, and in particular on the orbs. Those orbs that at times have a non-human intelligence relationship with us, and they can actually become very invasive, and they could actually become a way for an encounter of the third kind, but that's obviously not for everybody. Now, for those who think all this is nonsense, why don't you just change channel? Don't bother us here. Don't come here saying that you know it all, because you know absolutely nothing. And when you start running your mouth on our chat, we're going to block you and remove you, because here we want people who are actually evolved enough to understand that this is a turning point in humanity's history that we are discussing. It's not something you should joke like an idiot at the pub or at the bar or at the restaurant, cafe, or whatever. This is a matter of, it's something that's going to change the planet, okay? First of all, it's something that's going to change the very state of our society. And to continue taking this whole thing, now they have changed the name UFO to UAP because they said the UFO was making people smile and make jokes, and so they want to be more serious with UAP. I went on an interview the other day with some gentleman and another couple of people. There was a guy who actually had read my book. But then there was the guy who was conducting the interview who started to joke. And I think at one point, I mean, I had to tell him something. I just thought, and I told him, this is not a laughable matter. Making jokes on this is making jokes on your future of your children, your grandchildren. So just stop making idiotic jokes or thinking that this is all bullshit. Because if you think that, change channel. Move away. There's nothing to see here. We are evolved beings. This book is for evolved beings, not for ignoramus, not for monkeys. Go back to the jungle. There's a ritual taking place in Africa. Next year it starts. You can go there. The lions are going to eat you alive.
Amore.
Okay, let's start with a more attentive focus into who wants to classify our reality. And that, like I said earlier, is Al Puthoff. And of course, Dr. Weinstein, well, he challenged it.
Weird feature of going around a circuit and always going up the stairs and yet never climbing in height. That would be what we would call a holonomy effect due to curvature.
Paradox.
And you can go way beyond that, so there are all kinds of toroidal geometries, for example, where you have no EM fields whatsoever, but you have strong vectored scalar fields. And since you have no Lorentz force in the absence of E and B, then how can you detect them? Well, you detect them by any kind of quantum detector that can detect phase shifts, can detect the vector and scalar potential even in the absence of fields. So there's a whole engineering approach concerning which I have.
So Puthoff likes to play the guy who knows it all, you know? And Weinstein somehow tried to challenge him.
And, you know, a lot of people after that said that it wasn't all that effective.
See, that's part.
Now, they're talking about the actual remote viewing. This is an interesting part that we should all observe with attention. Huh?
Signal, just the way when North Korea detonates a nuclear device, it sends seismic waves through the earth. It can't stop sending information outside of the country. I think in 1952, we sent a signal to the cosmos, which is that we're very, very close to being in possession of root level knowledge, to take a software metaphor. We are about to become root, which is terrifying if you're a system administrator, that you've got a hacker that's about to get full control of the system.
It's like your edge.org question, which was what happens when we discover our own source code?
Does something unprecedented happen?
Does something unprecedented happen?
When man finally...
Aliens.
Well, people didn't understand what the question was. It was the final edge question, and instead of giving an answer, he asked us to give a question. The concern that I have is that in 1952, what if there was someone there to hear what we said in the Pacific? If there was something or someone there to hear us, they probably heard us as saying, we're on the verge of being able to come visit you. That's terrifying.
The Stargate program, which you ran, which is a government sort of psychic spy program, ran from 1972 to 1995, and it ended in 1995 under Ed May. And, you know, a lot of people after that said that it wasn't all that effective.
See, that's part of the negative
the stigmatization. Well, I was just reading Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, you know, where it talks about ATIP and I guess
OSAP, yeah.
OSAP, these two programs. And it looks like remote viewing is sort of, again, revived.
I don't think it ever really died.
So the question is, yeah, is that creating a stigma because you're bundling in parapsychology, which might be pseudoscience, with the UFO stuff, or is there some connection between those two things? Because there seems like a lot of overlap in terms of the people interested in the parapsychology stuff and the people interested in the UFO.
Here I must say that Jesse Michaels has made a great question to Alpudov. Let's see how the gatekeeper extraordinaire answers.
Stuff.
As Jacques Vallée and Eric Davis
put out. Wow. He nominates another gatekeeper. It's the guy who is the mentor of Professor Pasulka, the one we cited earlier. We're going to be discussing Professor Pasulka next week when we will be discussing and doing a show on the Blessed Virgin Mary apparitions. For the moment, we are ending the transmission almost. We are at the end of this remote viewing special, which, of course, is meant to open the eyes of most of you on the connections that there are between the remote viewing programs and then eventually the contacts of the second and third kind that also led to reverse engineering. At times, this reverse engineering was forced because we as human beings thought we were superior. We thought we could get into the minds of of these sentient beings and bring down their spaceships so we could reverse engineering. But all along, they actually brought us for a ride with them, and they gave us this technology. So then we have it. It's like the fisherman guy, and I love fishing. You put it on the hook, and then you wait for the fish. But also there is another kind of fishing, the net, actually the worldwide net. And when you pick up a worldwide net, there is everybody in it, the whole planet. So there is no way of getting out of this one. But of course, if we become aware of it, we could try to side with those factions that are trying to oppose. I mean, there is various alien factions. There's the angelic faction, the demonic factions. If we side with the right faction, we might get out of it alive.
Nice paper of 6 levels of UAP phenomena, which range all the way from nuts and bolts at the bottom to spiritual or metaphysical aspects at the top and everything kind of in between.
Can you break that down for us? So what are the 6 levels, and how are the nuts and bolts at all tethered to spiritual phenomena?
Well, see, they're the nuts and bolts things, but then some of the consequences of the nuts and bolts things are changes in what we call ordinary reality, which people who are the effect of might claim that that's some kind of paranormal thing, because that's the only word they can come up with to describe it. So there are paranormal things, and then it's sort of a gradation from there into things that are purely non-physical, but supposedly, quote, possibly psychokinesis.
I have to admit, I have such a strong visceral negative reaction. And it's very interesting because, as Jesse will tell you, Jesse was interested in this UFO, UAP stuff, and I couldn't be in the room with it. I hated the topic. It always felt like garbage to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that I was apparently wrong about that. The federal government is certainly tracking in this. It doesn't make any sense to me still that we have all these sensors and we don't have great video all over the place. I don't know how these UAPs, could possibly evade all of the cameras that we have outside of the government.
Don't worry about it, Weinstein. The CIA has already knocked on your door.
Something weird happened to me when I was listening to that.
Yes? What?
My ear started to go really, really loud, and then it stopped.
Okay, guys.
I hated that.
I wanted to introduce to you another major gatekeeper, protagonist of my new book. I'm talking about Dr. Peter Skafish.
Has been for decades secrecy about not just the existence of UAP vehicles, but government efforts to study them, by track and detect them, recover them, and reverse engineer them. We're certain about those things. If you look at some of the statements of people that were running the biggest aerospace and defense companies that have government contracts during the Cold War, they said in plain terms that UFOs exist and they were interested in emulating the performance characteristics. The secrecy has been so profound and so extensive because there have been activities and programs concerning UAP, but they weren't reported to Congress at all.
You are not getting what, Christy?
I don't think I was getting the download. I don't download from alien species. I don't download from anybody.
Okay, let me show you something, guys. I want to brief you on something. The CIA has created this organization. It's called the Soul Foundation. Now, it's an organization which is co-founded by people like Gary Nolan. There is the involvement, of course, of Peter Skafish, which you have just seen, who is somebody who has officially no personal or professional employment history with the Central Intelligence Agency, on the contrary of Gary Nolan, which I'm going to show you in a moment. But he has actually put together a bunch of people like Christopher Mellon, who is a co-founder and director of the Soul Foundation and is a formerly Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence and staff director for the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, so a big shot. Then he has also enrolled for this project with the CIA Charles McCullough Free, an attorney and key speaker at Soul events. McCullough served as the very first Inspector General of the intelligence community, the so-called ICIG, under the Obama administration. He has also enrolled David Grush, of course, that we have already spoke about, and he has enrolled for this project, which you're seeing on the screen, Colonel Carnell, who is a retired U.S. Army colonel who worked closely with the Defense Intelligence Agency and served as the modern UAP Task Force Dedicated Intelligence Integration Chief. So guys, here we are the only ones who are actually spilling the beans on this show. Let's check before we leave another major protagonist, which we have seen briefly earlier. I'm talking about Gary Nolan.
LA, who wrote a book called Wonders in the Sky. And what he did was work with a librarian of international history who went back through the records, hundreds, thousands of years, finding examples of events that we would today classify as a UFO.
And that most interesting and incredible archive where you can find such kind of records is, of course, the Vatican Apostolic Archive, used to be called the Secret Archive, and the Vatican Apostolic Library. We are talking about 53 miles of archives and 23 miles of library, and all of this under the Vatican and under St. Peter's Square.
They got a lot of secrets down there.
Absolutely.
But written by the generals, the historians, the kings, the scientists of the time, and recorded on parchment or literature, in the literature. One of the most fantastic is Alexander the Great. In one of his battles, these bright shields showed up in the sky above us. We saw it as an omen of our eventual win.
Oh, what happened to your puppet, Christy?
Got all dirty.
Why did he get dirty?
Because I painted his eyes and it wasn't waterproof, and now it's all dirty. And it got on her dress, so now I have to power wash them.
Okay, we can say that your puppets had a wild time, but you know, I usually, when it comes to the aliens, I go directly and stick it in the. Yeah, he.
But Marie, I wanted to say something
Huh?
about these aliens.
Okay, talk with me.
No, it's serious though.
Okay.
I don't want to side with an alien race. I'm just gonna. All right, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not siding with alien races, so.
Okay.
I'll side with God.
Well, of course we side with God. That is fundamental, no? I will give though some advice, and this guy, Lynn Buchanan, gave some important advice, which I would like to share with you. The remote viewer, one of the most prestigious remote viewers, which means he has also the capability of watching into the future, is giving us some important advice here, which I would like to share with you. So let's listen to him.
Well, you don't have to have the newest iPhone. you don't need it if the old one works.
Speak for yourself. No, I'm just joking.
And, how do you be one of the survivors? Learn to survive. Okay, I'm not a prepper by any means, but I have everything I have is paid for. I've gotten solar for my home. I'm fully solared. I have my own deep well. I can, I can just separate myself from the grid anytime I want to, and be totally self-sufficient. I can grow my own plants. I have a greenhouse, and people who are living in cities and renting apartments and all that, get out of the city. I'm sorry, but get out of the city. Become self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Survive.
Yeah. Where do you think are the safer places to be in America, given the kind of risk profile of both, different global powers, like you mentioned, Russia having earthquake weapons. I'm curious also, I mean, would that involve them actually having a clandestine mission where they actually put something into the ground and it's like a seismic fracking device, or could they do this from a spy plane? And because like what is that capacity for that particular weapon?
I'm a Russian linguist, and I was listening to a Russian news broadcast, because I watch the Russian channels in order to keep my Russian ability up. And there was this general they were interviewing, and he was drunk. And he just started spouting off about his earthquake weapon and how the Fukushima was just a test. And he was bragging about it. And they finally just cut him off. The details of it were not broadcast, but I mean, it was clear he was telling the truth.
Yeah. In vino veritas.
In vino veritas. Wow. Okay, it was always great to hear to Lynn Buchanan, because he's really giving us some great perle di saggezza, we would say in Italian, pearls of a sage, of an old sage, who was involved with these remote viewing programs, and is now, of course, telling us more about his own experiences. Don't forget that he is also claiming he had direct contact, not only remotely, but also physically once with an alien being. He has described that. So, I mean, but in any case, we will see you next week. Next week, Christy will be the protagonist because she
Why?
had her own experiences with the Blessed Virgin Mary.
I did? Oh, that?
Yes.
I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to say that.
Well, you talked about it in your book,
Yeah.
so you can talk about it here for the show next
I
week.
don't even remember the story, and then I took that story out of my book.
Ah, okay. Well, maybe we should take it back out.
I only like the. Okay, I'm not saying nothing.
Okay.
In
any
I'm
case,
not connected to the Virgin Mary, so.
okay,
Or the
but-
BVM or anything
No,
like that.
but we will discuss the BVM, the Blessed Virgin Mary. We will have again a fraction of our show dedicated to Roberto Pinotti's interview, which is featured in its entirety in my book. The book is The Vatican's Top Secret Alien Agenda, guys. This book has really reached the charts and become already a classic in the UFO field. Hidden Encounters, Forbidden Rituals, and Jesuit Astronomers in the Age of UFO Disclosure, guys, has also the most amazing book cover. I mean, where can you find such a detailed and incredible piece of work from Vincenzo Viceversa?
That's really nice.
Amazing book cover. Amazing.
I
book
think
cover.
that's my favorite one of all your books.
Yeah, it's the favorite. Even my mother said, "Darling, Vincenzo did a great job." And a British accent.
So about that story in my book,
yeah.
Do you have that story?
Well, of course I
You
have.
have like the original. Okay, because yeah, the case of the disappearing Holy Mary.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
it was my first.
I witnessed it.
Well, it did happen.
So,
I'm just such a skeptic, but it did happen. But then a lot of weird stuff happens.
Well, we will be discussing all this next week when we will be discussing the topic which is featured in chapter 5 of my new book, which is involved in the Blessed Virgin Mary, which is a UFO phenomenon, by the way. Okay? So, no worries. At this point, what we can do is to leave you with our great track at the end. And Christy, you enjoy the show?
Oh, very much.
Okay, guys. We will like to thank once again the sponsors. Who are the sponsors, Christy?
Kay Milan and Daniel Estes. Thank you, guys.
Perfect.
Bye.
Absolutely. Those who have bought the book, guys. I will give them an applause to those who brought the book. You know, really. Here's thank you.
Thank you very much.
Why?
Oh no.
And wine is true.
Which had lost communication.
I don't know what to do, man. You would take the thing off of me.